I wish to thank the glorious panel that I've got here today, erudite and eloquent. And some of you have seen me through my first two books also. Smriti Rani is one, and Jay Panda is another. Gautam Chakramarni makes me look better than I am. And Samir, of course, is a phenomenon in every ways. And Sanjeev Sanyal, in his own right, he is one of the most brilliant persons I have known. So I am lucky to have a panel like this. And if ever there is a fourth book, I'll repeat. And I have to thank Swati for mentoring me for 3 books and leading me on to this one. She was always professional. Her advice was professional. She had inappropriate. Most of all for her patience, as the third book kept getting prolonged. I'll explain why that happened. And I must thank your editorial team for supporting me all along. Tanubi of ARF and Prerna of Juggernaut were an asset to this. I thank them profusely. And I thank the audience who have taken the trouble. And when the house looks full, then you feel that you're some kind of a budding film director and you've got a good movie going. My first book, The Unending Game, had a chapter on narratives. And following that, I had a discussion with one of the panelists, and that set in mind the next book, fully on narratives, the ultimate goal. And the third one, as Samir has very appropriately, correctly described, it's the whole lot. It's everything, how the world is, what we are heading forward to, and where we might end up. The problem today is that the instruments of yesterday are no longer appropriate. Now I have new instruments. And a person like me is not familiar with those instruments of AI and high tech and so on and so forth. I grew up in the age of postcards and inland letters and Morse code. So that's how we were. Today these instruments have, as I've just mentioned, have run out of control because social media has taken over. Opinion, fake stories, exaggerated stories, capable of causing a riot in half an hour. So these are problems that the intelligence is going to have in the future. How to prevent an incident, how much leeway, how much time you have to do it. But as events unfolded, when I started writing the Great Power Games in 2021, events began to overtake me. I had seen events developing in an era of endless wars, trade wars, tariff wars, water wars, resource wars, all sorts of wars. And then old-style colonial wars in the 21st century in places like Africa. Meanwhile, Ukraine happened. America's proxy war against Russia had begun, 2022. That had barely settled at a high level of military exchanges and casualties. That the world watched the horrendous Hamas attack in October 2023. And then the Israeli counter So bit by bit, I had to keep updating my book not to appear horribly out of date. And then, after I had done all that, the Americans elected a new president. That changed context completely. It has given us more problems than before. And as it looks today, we have lived through endless wars since the Korean War. And that was an armistice, that was not a peace deal, that was not a victory. The next one was 1975, the end of Vietnam War. Then we had the Afghan Jihad, built up by the Americans with Islamists. That ended, and then you had the Balkan Wars, the last decade of the 20th century. 9/11, and you had Iraq and Afghanistan again. And it's been continuing since then in one form or the other. Wars haven't come to an end. And mind you, none of these wars were won by America, despite its 800 bases and the highest military budget in the world. So there must be something wrong somewhere. Why is it happening like this? Maybe the book has discovered this, but I don't think so. Maybe my panelists will help me discover it. But that's how the world is today. We look at a situation where now and then our neighbors talk about, I have the nuclear bomb, I can destroy half the world in a flash. Is he serious? Or not? Do we know what he means by this, or is just a bluff? I probably think it is a bluff, but I can't be sure. Anyhow, there we are. Thank you very much. The world is spinning rapidly on a knife edge. And unless we take control of the situation somehow, somewhere, good luck. Thank you.